Welcome back everyone, it's Chris from the tech team, and today I'm going to show you how to reveal elements when scrolling. Okay, just jumping straight in, I've got my index.html that has got a header and some content in the container and a footer. The contents of this is all styled with Bootstrap, which you can see called in here, and I'm just making reference to my style.css up here on line 8, and I'm calling in my JavaScript, which is completely empty at the moment on line 31. In terms of the content that's actually in here, I've just got a div in here which floats left and floats right, and that is just some title, so some body of text, and then an image. Now I've got this hide class on here, and I'll just talk about that a little bit now. So if I save this and come over here, my header is being made up of a random image that gets generated from the web somewhere, and pick some photos, and is going to cover 100% of the window. So every time that I reload it, I'll have to scroll past that image, which will be 100% of the window. The container just adds some padding on the top and the bottom, just to kind of give, break it out, give it some spacing. Hide. Okay, this is the bit that's going to be important to us. Opacity 0 is saying obviously hide this element, you cannot see it. The transform translate y 25 pixels, that is saying that we're operating on the y axis and that we are going to be moving it by 25 pixels, so it's moved down 25 pixels. Transition 1 second, all ease in and out, that is the type of animation and how long we want that to animate for. So 1 second, what you'll typically find is people like to use 0.5, but I'll show you the differences in a second. What's going to happen is we are going to be monitoring how far we scroll, and when elements come into the window, when we are at a point that we want to show those elements, and then we're going to be adding the class appear onto those elements. So right here where we've got hide, once we hit a point where we get down to this, we're going to append appear onto here. So as you can imagine, appear is the opposite of hide. We've got the opacity as 1, and then we've got the reverse effect of the transform. So where we're translating by 25 pixels here, we're now translating by 0 pixels to take it back up to where it was. And I'll show you that in action in a second. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to load up my window here and just reload. As you can see, a random image gets shown, and we've got that element which is currently being hidden. So I'm just going to inspect, zoom in, and just show you that just to see. If I remove the class hide, you can see that it's actually here. Okay, so let's jump into the JavaScript. I want to create a function. I'm going to call this something logical. Scroll to appear, and then I'm going to, let's just say console.log hello world. Save that, and I'm going to come to my window. I'm going to reload, and obviously nothing is happening. The reason nothing's happening is because we've not done anything with this function. So I want to do something with this function when we scroll. So what I'm going to say is window, add event listener, and I want to listen for when someone scrolls. And I'm going to call scroll to appear. So whenever someone scrolls on the window, call the function scroll to appear. At that time, I want you to console log hello world. So if I go back to our window, and as I scroll, you can see we've had 28 instances of hello world, and if I keep on scrolling. Okay, so we know that this is working. Now what we need to do is we need to get the element that we're hiding. So we are going to get our hidden element is equal to document.query selector, and we want to find all of the elements which are hide. So if I console.log hidden element, save this, and whenever we scroll, what I'm expecting to see is nothing. I need a class. So make sure with query selector, make sure you include the dot. So if I wanted to select element IDs, I would obviously have to include that. We're selecting classes right now, so I'm selecting the dot notation. So if I go back, scroll, and what we've got is we've got the element every single time that we scroll. Great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to reveal this text based on its position. So we know that this element down here is so many pixels away from the top of the screen. So right now, this element over here is approximately 1200-ish pixels away from the top. We know that the height of this window is going to be around 1000-ish pixels, 1080, something around those lines. Obviously, take off the top, so we know that it's going to be about 1000 pixels for the height of the screen. And then we know that this is going to be 1200. So what we can do is we can say, well, once you scroll past a certain point, reveal that text. So in order to do that, we need to get the height of the screen, and we need to get the height, the position of the element. So let's do that now. And what I'm going to say is const element position is equal to hidden element dot get bounding client rect. And if I save this and just console.log this and say element position, whenever I scroll right now, so the top, let's go to the very top and just reload. So the first item was 1083 pixels. The last item, if I scroll down to the bottom, we're looking for the top, is 794. So we know that something is happening on scroll. We don't need the rest of the object. We don't care how far away from the bottom or the left or the right. We just care about how far away it is from the top. So in order to retrieve that, I can just say top. Save that. Come back to our window and reload. And as you can see, we're now increasing and decreasing the position that we are away from the top. So right now we are 1084 pixels away from the top. Let's scroll down to the bottom. We are now 794 pixels away from the top. Great. Now we need to find out the screen position. Screen position, screen height is equal to window.inner height. Let's save that. Let's console log it. Find out what we're working with. Screen height. Come back. And as I scroll, I know that the window is 1009 pixels tall. Now, as you can imagine, we can probably do some maths around this. We can just say, well, actually, once you've crossed over a certain point, let's add that class onto this element. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to say if screen height is greater than element position, then we want to add that class. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to say element position dot class list. Sorry, not element position. Hidden element dot class list dot add. And what am I going to add? I'm going to add a pair to the class. So if I scroll to the very top, reload the window, scroll down, and as you can see, it did actually reveal then. So it happens really quick. It happens as soon as those pixels knock over. So right there. And now the problem with that is it might not, it'll lose the effect. So we can divide this height. And if I say divide by 1.1, save that, come back over here, reload, and we'll get about 10% into the screen. So I like being around like the 1.3 mark. So we're about a third of the screen in. Obviously, as you can imagine, if you did 2, you dividing it by 2, so that it'll be around the middle. So 1.3 is obviously a little bit too high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the whole of this content, because what it's looking for is it's trying to get to a certain point, but the height of the window isn't enough. So I'm going to save that, and what we've got here is I've doubled up on our text, and as I got to a certain, about a third of the way into the screen, it revealed. So it waited some time. That's probably a little bit too long, to be fair. Let's just go back to 1.2, scroll to the top, there you go, and it reveals. Now where we've doubled the content here, I've actually included the hide element on another node, another div, and that's obviously not revealing. And the reason it's not revealing is because of this line up here. It's hidden element, query selector, and it's just selecting the first element. Now, you might want multiple elements. You might want the images, you might want the text, you might want all of these elements. You might want icons and whatever to reveal. And the way that we do that is by selecting all. Now I want to select all of the hides. The problem that we've got now though is if I console.log hidden element, save this, come over here, what you'll see is that we've got a node list. This node list is an array of items because it's found more than one. If I duplicate this again and again, so I've just done it twice, so we should have 4 elements. Reload, as you can see, we've got 4 elements in our node. Now as I scroll, it's not going to do anything because it doesn't know which elements to work with. So we can actually combat that really easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function called reveal element. I'm calling it elements, you can call it whatever you want. And I'm going to take all of this content in here and I'm going to paste it into my function. And then this hidden element, I'm going to pass that down as an argument, as a parameter that I need to pass into it. So what I'm going to say is, well, for all of these hidden elements, I'm going to loop over that and I'm going to reveal them one at a time. So I'm going to do for I equals 0. If I is less than the hidden element dot length, so the total number, we're expecting 4 there, then we want to I plus plus. So we want to loop over you. Then what I want to do is, whilst I'm looping over these, I want to reveal the individual elements. So let's just say reveal hidden element. However, we need to access the array. And which element are we in? Well, we know which element we're in because we started off on 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll come over here. We've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or, well, 1, 2, 3, sorry. So we can just access the I. And if I save this, come back over here, reload, you can see it worked a second ago. That one works, that one works, and that one works. Fantastic. Now what's great about this is the way that we've actually built this is we don't necessarily have to just use it on a single element. We can use it on multiple elements or we can use it on images. So I could say class equals hide. So which element is this? I think this is the third element, the third image. So yeah, you can see it working there. So it's already there, it's already there. Now this element comes in. So wherever we want to put this hide class, it will just work now. I suppose just to move on and add one final little bit, as you can imagine, at the very beginning I was talking about this class and saying hide, and we are using the y-axis. Well, we can actually use the x-axis as well, and we can move elements from left to right and right to left. So if I scroll up to the very top, what you might find is that you want your text or your images to come in from the side, and you can do that very easily. You know, if I increase this up to 50 pixels, save that, come back, you get a much more dramatic effect. And then likewise, earlier I mentioned about the transition and the speed. The 1 second, if we change that down to 0.5, it'll happen a lot quicker. So I will come back, reload, and that's pretty much it. Thanks very much for watching, guys.